Hello everybody and welcome to the Vintage Read Show live. It is a beautiful day in Oz. You might even hear the sounds of children playing outside, which is music to my ears because it's such a beautiful, beautiful day. Well, we're going to be talking about a lot of big things in this live, and I think we'll get on to the Williams stuff about halfway through. So if you're not interested in the other things I'm going to talk about, you can just skip to midway if you're watching this on catch up. Hello to all my friends in the chat. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to kick off just with a giggle straight away because this is hilarious. As you know, I just find it so amusing. I mean, if you live in Queensland and anywhere near the ocean, you know that pretty much every child that exists in Queensland that lives near the ocean goes to have a surf before they head off to school. It's just like a rite of passage. So you can imagine the mirth at this. You know, I have heard some hilarious things, and a lot of it isn't very complimentary. I think Prince Harry's ears would definitely be red if he could hear what is being said around my neck of the woods. Honestly, I think Meghan is doing a favour to Prince William and doing a favour to the Wales family and the royal family in general, because when she posts ridiculous things like that, all she does is succeed in humiliating Harry and making him look like a complete doofus. I mean, who advertises the fact that they need to get towed in on a very small, perfectly formed wave in order to catch it? I mean, 5-year-olds do more difficult things at surf school just down the road. So, you know, it is absolutely hilarious. Just had to draw attention to that because she's making him out to be quite silly, really, isn't she? Anyway, we'll move on to some things I wanted to talk about, which is this. I finally cottoned on to why Netflix even did a first look deal with the Sussexes. It all of a sudden became very clear when I read that a Diana documentary is on the long list of potential shows Netflix could produce with Prince Harry and Meghan in the future. No, it's at the top of the list. And again, it's only Prince Harry that they really want. I was gobsmacked that they even managed to get this small little first look deal, and evidently some staff costs, some production costs for Archwell Productions are being covered very to a low level, nothing exciting at all. But even that surprised me because I thought, look, on their performance, purely based on performance, and then I thought, oh, maybe they're hanging out for the divorce doco and the divorce tell-all, and that would make sense. But no, there's something coming up a lot sooner than that, and that, of course, is the 30th anniversary of Diana's death. I believe it falls in 2027. So, yes, it all became starkly clear. So, obviously, Harry and Meghan are still cashing in, particularly Harry, cashing in on his mother's legacy. You can only imagine how that makes Prince William feel. I mean, it must be truly horrific. Also, there's other people cashing in on Princess Diana's legacy, though. Let's have a look at this. This was just really astounding. This is Rod Gunner, who had a friendship with Princess Diana. He actually helped organise her Concert of Hope fundraiser back in 1993. And also Patrick Jeffson, her former private secretary, is in on this, helping with the production, being an advisor to the production. And it is truly astonishing. You can see on this clip, new show depicts Princess Diana as a US mum, but friend behind the series insists he's not cashing in. Oh, we believe you, Rod. We believe you're not cashing in, do we? Ka-ching. I mean, it's pretty obvious that he is. Now, filming is due to start before Christmas, and they say that preserving Diana's legacy is another driving factor. Sure it is, sure it is. This is a spiel they're saying anyway. Mr. Gunner wants younger generations born after Diana died to be captivated by her personality and charity work. He's aware some may find the project offensive, and it means for him to cash in on her memory. You think? Evidently, the storyline's going to be set in Phoenix, Arizona, and she's going to be portrayed as a 64 24-year-old sort of harassed British socialite despairing about her wayward daughter. Sounds really classy, doesn't it? Evidently, she finds love with an unscrupulous American fund manager, also known as a Wall Street wizard, and he offers her all the security she needs. But trust is hardly a feature of their marriage. And then the last bit was just, gone is the suffocating paparazzi-plagued life in the UK, swapped for the apparent anonymity of a desert city in the US Southwest. I don't think I'll be even tuning in to hate watch this one. I think it sounds absolutely horrific. Again, they're exploiting Diana. They just cannot help themselves, can they? It's never ending. I'm going to go to some of your comments now. Here we go from Amy. If he wasn't cashing in on Princess Diana, then all proceeds would go to charity. For Harry making a doco too. Very good point, Amy. There's cashing in or there's not cashing in. If you're not cashing in, then give away the money to charity. What a fantastic point. Leslie Warren, I don't need to read this out. You can see her visual opinion. So there you go, Leslie. I think Leslie made it very, very clear what her opinion is about all of that. It is sickening, isn't it? Now, before we get on to the really juicy stuff about William, and it is gobsmacking, I was interested to read a behind the paywall sort of article from Richard Eden about Harry laying the wreath. And he did agree with me, so I'll be kind to him about this particular point. Yes, evidently a friend of the royal family rang him up and was just gobsmacked by Harry's hypocrisy, and family called me spitting blood over the prince, revealing their hurt and told of the deep unease. Well, thank goodness for that. Thank God I wasn't the only one. I know a lot of you also agreed with me, just judging by the comments. I'm going to share some of your comments in your say later on, just sort of near the end of the live. But the point was made by Richard Eden that no other member of the royal family actually laid a wreath. They left the commemoration to the king and the queen. The fact that Harry was able to hijack a service of such national importance, a national service of remembrance, as a royal source put it to me, has caused unease at the palace. When he tried to do something similar in 2021, as we all know, Queen Elizabeth personally intervened to stop. Now, this is interesting because the king actually gets admonished. Now, the Daily Mail and the Sun and everyone we know has just been positively fawning over the king over the last week. But no, he got a little bit of admonishment here from Richard Eden. The king needs to take a leaf out of his mother's book and take a firmer line with his younger son. Also, he made the point that Harry was apparently trying to upstage his older brother, the heir to the throne, trying to undermine him. Well, that's not exactly a great big shock, is it? Also, he doubles down on the fact that the Queen stopped him. He quotes Rebecca English saying that it took the Queen all of 2 seconds to decide to say, no, you cannot lay a wreath. You're either in the royal family or you're out of the royal family, and you're out, so you don't get to lay a wreath. And then the final point, which was interesting in this article, was when it comes to publicity seeking, Harry and Meghan, the king as head of the armed forces, should remain on guard. So, yeah, I guess they pretty much, on this point, many people are agreeing. Many people, I'm surprised how much anger there was out there. It was visceral. I was also surprised how many people were actually, angry enough like I was to be, moved to tears over it, because actually that happens to me a lot. Whenever I get really angry, I cry, which is really not good, particularly if you're having a business meeting. It's not good, but it's anger that makes me cry more than sadness or fright or anything like that. I think it just becomes a little bit overwhelming. All right, now I'm not going to make you sort of wait around any longer. I am going to discuss this. Now, this is just an example. And look, there's far worse. I've got far worse to show you. This is just a little smattering of what we've been treated to over the last week. Now, I've made some notes because I have really looked into this, and I'm not going to come out with any big bombshells or conclusions, but I have made a few observations, and you, of course, can make up your own mind and decide for yourself. So I have observed very much coordinated campaigns, particularly from the Daily Mail and the Sun. Now, the Sun particularly interests me because that is, of course, home of Arthur Edwards, and I love Arthur, and I had him on the show, and we do know that he is very close to the King and Queen. He's very close to the King. He was one of the few after the post-separation with Diana that decided to follow the King around rather than follow Diana around. And that was how they forged their rather close friendship and trust over those sort of lean years where no one was that interested in the King. Also very close to Camilla, has a great working relationship with her, loves photographing her, has danced with her, appreciates the fact that she goes out of her way to make his job easier. And I'm sure any photographer could relate to that. And also, it must be said, while I clean my glasses, because I've got a big thumbprint over one side, and I can't see you at all, it's all a blur. Also, he's very close to the Duchess of York. Now, it must be said, if we're being quite cynical, that Arthur Edwards just appreciates anyone that gives him a good shot. So I don't think he's necessarily judging in particular anyone's character or anyone's activities. I think he just loves anyone that gives him a good shot. And that's fair enough, I reckon. But my point is, and it is a serious point, that the Sun got the scoop on the Forest Lodge story. They very definitely got the scoop. The Daily Mail did not get it. Head of the Royal Rota, Rebecca English, did not get it. The Sun got that front page scoop. Now, that is significant because that tells me they were handed it. All right, they were handed the story. Now, I can guarantee that Harry and Meghan did not know about that move. I know Prince William has locked down any information in regards to his family's future moves. He's no idiot. And if anything gets back to Harry and Meghan, usually it's a decoy, it's false information, it's designed to trick. So I doubt that in this particular case, the Sun got the heads up from Harry and Meghan. Now, the Yorks are very well aware. Obviously, Forest Lodge is quite near Royal Lodge. Fergie is quite familiar with it because she was actually thinking about moving or wanting to move into there at one stage post-separation from Andrew because of its proximity to Royal Lodge. And it was Prince Philip that actually put the kibosh on that. Thank goodness that he did. So the Yorks would be very aware. They share a lot of the same neighbours, very close. Like I said, it's high chance that they would have the heads up on what was going. They would be very well aware of the renovations taking place in Forest Lodge. Plus, we may have to face the fact that there are clearly, possibly, people at the palace seeking to undermine William. Now, I am not talking about the King. Before everyone gets hysterical and piles on me, I'm not talking about the King because I don't have enough information to make a declaration like that. That would be, really irresponsible of me to just sort of speculate with such a damaging accusation. I'm talking about an aide or a member of staff. I am fairly convinced at this stage that there is someone within the palace that very definitely doesn't like William. Now, who signs off on that, I don't know. But the Sun was fed this story. It had handprints all over it. I was going to say footprints all over it. Handprints all over it that was fed. And it was probably, I'll scratch my back, you scratch ours type deal. Now, I am fully aware of the counter argument. Let's go into the counter argument that there is an effort to divide and conquer the royal family, the senior members of the royal family. I'm well aware that we are supposed to blame the king. I'm well aware that people are trying to drive a wedge between the king and William in the public's consciousness. And because divide and conquer, I mean, it just makes sense. But I don't rule anything out at this stage. I don't think we've got enough information. I'm just watching with great interest. A few observations I'll share is that I have noticed that the people that are sticking the boot into William in the very worst way are people that often are quite fawning when it comes to the king, Camilla, and the Yorks. Now, that is just an observation, and that is an interesting new pattern. I haven't seen that sort of develop before. Often you could sort of, if they were having a go at William, they'd be just as ready to have a go at the king. Or if they were having a go at the king, they'd just be willing to have a go at the Yorks. But there seems to be a shift, a change in the dynamic. Now, I'm going to give you much more concrete and startling evidence of this being a coordinated campaign, which I will get onto in one sec. Regardless of who is behind it, though, the case is being built that William is lazy, that he's a bully, that he's obsessed with privacy, and that he has a faux happy family life. And I say good luck to him, good luck to them with all that. They are underestimating how popular Prince William is. And for those that seek to bring down the monarchy and to make sure that Britain becomes a republic and to make sure that there is no more monarchy, that they wipe out the institution, their main hurdle they have to get over is Prince William, because his popularity is off the charts. Then add that, Princess Catherine, Princess Wales, then add the gorgeous children. They know that once the Waleses are sent to the throne, that their cause is dead in the water. And that's why they're taking, they're really going for it now, because they perceive, the king as being a weaker target. And so, of course, they're making hay while the sun shines. Now, there's been dire warnings from Robert Jobson, of all people. Now, it's interesting that he used to be the royal editor for The Sun. He also worked for numerous newspapers, as you know, not working for a newspaper at the moment. He's also rather good chums with Omid Scobie. And I'm sure they are still in communication. Now, he has warned Prince William that the public might lose interest. Careful what he wishes for. And not living at Buckingham Palace will make him, and I had to chuckle when I read this one, removed from the people. I would say the Buckingham Palace would be more removed from the people than a sort of, a medium-sized mansion in Windsor Great Park. So this is all heavily spread, of course, and doubled down on by the Harkles, Toadies, Marie Claire, Yahoo News in style. You know the drill, all the drill. Over the last week, they've been regurgitating old gotchas from Spare or Wah. They've been dragging up everything they can that paints Prince William in a negative light. And the Royal Rota don't seem to admire people that stick around and do their duty. They seem to admire people that abandon their post, because they are falling over themselves to be very admiring of Harry at the moment. The Telegraph just nearly wet their pants over his surfing video. And sections of the Royal Rota are clearly livid that Prince William wants to run his own show and will not let them in. I actually made a tweet where I said, William, when you ascend to the throne, get rid of the Royal Rota. It is irrelevant. It is out of date. You don't need it. And it's only really handy for people that horse trade with them, which has been going on since time immemorial, this horse trading, and also that those that choose to weaponize it against an enemy or a foe. And William will have no part of that. He said, I'm not going to do that, because he saw the damage that happened between his mother's office and his father's office, and he said, I am not going to do that. He doesn't want his children to inherit something so disgusting. He has cut all ties except allowing them to cover official tours or official state occasions. And they are poking and poking and poking and trying to get a reaction, and he will not respond because he is not a reactive fool. Now I'm going to go on to some of your comments and I'm going to show you the big stuff. Okay, here we go. Jill Ackerman, I can't read that out, Jill. It's got a swear word in it. But she says something along the lines that Harry needs a cup of grow the F up. Tracy, if they wanted a private, there wouldn't have been a letter on letterhead and signed. Yes, and a royal emblem. And also, I doubt that the letter would have been put in plastic to make sure it didn't get rained on and so that everyone would be able to read it. Yes, Amy, I like Rebecca English too, but she is head of the Royal Rota, and I am not a fan of the Royal Rota. I think it needs to be gone. I do not admire it at all, but I'm quite sympathetic to you liking her as a person. Elaine, to me, as an American, it was an enormous slap in the face to the Queen after she told him, no, Charles needs to do something. There's never been any consequences for their actions. And if ever there should be consequences for actions, it should be this. Get a load of this. I'm just going to remove that. Now, this is appalling. This goes beyond actually picking on the Walesers and goes into really horrible rhetoric, basically propaganda. I would put it in the realms of disgusting. And it is the Daily Mail, who Rebecca English represents and is head of the Royal Rota, that is the publication that published this. I find it just awful. Anyway, I'll let you, I'll show you more and you can make up your own mind. I won't rant. The dark past of William and Kate's forever home, slavery. And an equerry who blew his brains out. Isn't that so kind of them to actually print something like that? And they're taking their children to live there as a lovely family home. George, Charlotte and Louis. Can you imagine the damage that these people are doing to their family just by printing that headline? It is just beyond the pale. Beyond the pale. I cannot believe it. Anyway, back to more of this horror. This was written by Christopher Wilson. He wrote Charles versus Diana, the book that I did a review of with James Whittaker. Obviously, he provided the historical context for that book, and James Whittaker provided all the gossip and the inside juice. But yeah, so Daily Mail have chosen to publish this, but you haven't seen the worst of it yet. Okay, there's the headline. How much due diligence did the couple do when it came to the history of their 18th century pile before agreeing to move in? Oh, gets worse. They use a photograph from the TV series Roots. Now, I remember being a very young girl and hiding under the kitchen table or the family room table, trying to get to see this series because I was too young and I was always sent off to bed. But in the article in the Daily Mail, and take this in, they've got the headline about slavery, they've got the headline about the equerry blowing his brains out, and then they provide photographs from the series Roots, depicting the most disgusting, horrible, history ever that would distress anybody to see, but it was a TV series. And that's why, of course it was real life, but do you get what I'm saying? They actually illustrated this article with a photograph from a TV series to make people emotive and disgusted, and it's all aimed at the Wales family and the Wales family's choices. Now, that's no accident. That is very definitely how propaganda is rolled out, people. It's just beyond belief. Then this quote, slavery is not the only story attached to the house once known as Holly Grove, but since renamed Forest Lodge. And look, I'm not even sharing the worst of it. I'm just giving you a taste of it. Now, how I know that this is a coordinated campaign designed to bring down Prince William and make him, an attempt to make him unpopular, is this line. If William doesn't already know it, it may come as an unwelcome reminder of the troubled West Indies tour which he and Kate undertook in March 2022. And there you have it, folks. That disgusting headline using an image from the Roots TV series, which is distressing, obviously, and then tie it to their tour they did in 2022. It's not just me, is it? I mean, the implication is clear. It is very, very clear what the Daily Mail published. Look, if I was William, I'd sue their ass off over this one. I would go for them. I have a feeling that this could even be libelous, but of course he won't. But the implication is clear, what they're making out about them. It's very, very clear. I mean, you'd have to be an idiot not to pick up the message. Then they go on, and this is the final horror I will share, that in 1973, diagnosed with terminal bladder cancer, there was an aide that lived there, Sir John Ard. He had, I mean, can you believe it that they've actually brought this up when we know the history of Catherine? We know, I'm not implying that she had bladder cancer, but we know that she had very serious cancer. She had to have preventative chemotherapy. She's about to move into this home for a fresh start. And what do? They tell us about someone that had terminal bladder cancer that blew his brains out at Forest Lodge, in the bedroom of Forest Lodge. Now, how cruel could you get? Are you just appalled? I am appalled at that. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Teacup, these attacks on William are orchestrated. Well, I think I've just proven it, Teacup. I think I have proven it beyond all reasonable doubt. This article was targeted, and it was designed to do a job. It was designed to hurt particularly Prince William's image, but the whole Wales family image. That's what it was designed to do. Create damage. Unbelievable. I'm going to go down a little more. Here we go. This is from Ms. Fish and Chips. Oh, I love that name. Makes me hungry. Just realised it's all a political game between media and royal family relationships with layers, which is why King does nothing. Yes, I'm not expecting the King to do anything at the moment. I'm surprised how much his publicity has so quickly turned around. I'm also noticing that Grant Harold, with his royal biography that no one believes and everyone is just laughing at and taking with a grain of salt, seems to have recurring themes. One, that King Charles is just divine. He's never raised his voice. He's never put a foot wrong. He's just the epitome of, working for him is bliss. And also that Harry's a fun guy, and that he was a fun guy before he met Meghan. And so he just turned from this really fun, lonely, sweet young man into this horror that we see before us now. But it's not his fault. He's been led astray. Yes, they're the main themes of Grant Harold's book, I would say. Okay, the Yorks, aren't they out now? I mean, really out? I'm confused. What about Loney's mind-blowing book? You missed my point. My point is that they live at Royal Lodge. And so any information about the move way before it was actually leaked to the Sun, they would have been very aware before anyone else was aware. They would have even needed to have been informed, because Royal Lodge is very close to Forest Lodge. So any prospective trucks coming in, renovations, builders, all that, it reportedly started 6 months ago. And that was way before there was any leaking. And there was the decoy story put out, which was Fort Belvedere, which was the one that Harry and Meghan's crew picked up. Okay, I know that. So that was the decoy story. They all fell for that. All the Harkles media fell for that, and they went with that. But the real story was Forest Lodge. Now, there was only people on the in of that, and I'm just saying that it's highly likely that the Yorks would have been aware. I'm not saying that they leaked it to the press. I'm not saying that they leaked it to the Sun in order to distract from their current troubles. I'm not saying that. I'm just giving you the information that they would have been aware, very much aware, before anyone else. And then I presented the other side of the fact that although it's clear people are probably trying to drive a wedge between the King and Prince William, and I'm not silly enough to fall for that unless I have real evidence, I am fairly convinced that there is someone within the palace that doesn't have Prince William's interests at heart. That's all I was saying. So there you go. I'll try and get a few more comments up for you. We're getting into politics here. Burger 4758. Unfortunately, I think William has the same left leanings as his father. They both see their role as saving the planet from climate change, neither show any regard for the Commonwealth. I don't agree with that. I don't think that William is a raging lefty. I think that he has concern for the environment, but I think he tackles it in a very different way. I think if you look at and I'm not just defending him because I like him, I've looked into this deeply. Earthshot is a completely different model. It's all about enhancing people's lives so that they feel compelled to care about the environment, but not at the detriment of themselves, not at the detriment of earning money or providing for their children. It's all about enhancing lives in eco-friendly ways without taking away livelihoods or without expecting people that have the less to sacrifice the most. It's a very different model from the old traditional sort of virtue signaling, fly on a private jet type model of climate change. It's quite innovative. So I suggest you look into it and then form your opinion. But that sort of surface canning of it isn't really bear out when you look at the facts of Earthshot. That's what I found anyway. But I get where you're coming from, but I found that not to be the case. And I am fairly sure that Prince William is fairly conservative in his politics. He's more of a traditionalist like the Queen was, but he's also well aware that he won't get involved in politics because he is very much sort of aligned with the traditional model of the monarchy. He's not going to interfere in politics. You saw that because he didn't take sides. I mean, when everyone was canning the election of Donald Trump, everyone that, didn't want Donald Trump to be elected, Prince William was one of the first people to go and respectfully greet him as the re-elected president of the United States. He does not play politics. And he got canned for that because, of course, there is an overwhelming amount of people that resented that and didn't want him to acknowledge Donald Trump. He will do what a monarch does, because he respects the verdict of the people in other countries, and he respects their elected leaders. That's what the monarch does. They don't bring their own thoughts into it, and that's how it's supposed to be. All right, now we've got more juice. There's a lot. Here we go. Now you're probably not going to, I'm not going to say what you expect here, I don't think. All right, so the Duchess of York tried to put the moves on Epstein. I'm of course talking about Ghislaine Maxwell's interview transcript being released. Now, I've got to say, I put up a tweet on X and I said, if you believe anything Ghislaine Maxwell said, you're brain dead. Now, because I mouthed off on my other channel about Donald Trump putting tariffs on Australia, many people think that I'm implying that you shouldn't believe her when it comes to Donald Trump. I'm not. I'm saying you shouldn't believe anything that comes out of her mouth. So equally, what she said about Bill Clinton, equally, what she said about Sarah Ferguson. I'm not going to pick things she said, say, well, because I don't like that person, I'm not going to believe her there. And because I like this person, I'll believe her there. And because I'm mates with Andrew Loney, I'll believe her about Sarah or whatever. I don't rock and roll that way. I look into things. So no, I don't believe anything she says. If I was in her position, I would guarantee that I wanted to stay alive and possibly get a pardon. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm just talking about Donald Trump. Donald Trump has the capacity to grant a pardon, and there are other rather powerful political operatives that you would think maybe she was trying to assure that she stayed alive. Plus, there are members of the judiciary. There's members of police forces. There's people that have fled America and ended up in Russia. There's countless victims, which I feel for. They're the people that I'm concerned with. Countless victims still alive that are too scared to speak out. Also, I believe the quoted sources that Andrew Loney had in his book, where he actually quoted two employees, ex-employees of Tramp nightclub, they were named saying that they saw Andrew there that night dancing and sweating profusely. The other thing I want to say is about Prince Andrew. I don't even care really about the whole Virginia Giuffre thing with him, because I think the Andrew Loney book clearly displayed that he's into older women. He's into, Andrew Loney has come out and said that he does not think he is and I've got to say it this way for YouTube, a PDF file. He doesn't think he is. He's clearly into sort of older women. The main thing that interests me about Andrew Loney's book is the financial revelations. And I'm having him back early September to talk about those. That is what I'm interested in. That is what I think should be referred to the National Crime Authority, the financial aspects of what he's revealed. And I think it should be cleaned up so that all the hangers-on in the royal family that are grifting and not declaring their financial sort of interests, it should all be cleared up. I think it would be of great benefit to strengthen the monarchy that way. So I don't really care. I've moved on from the whole Epstein thing with Prince Andrew. I'm interested in the financial. But I don't believe anything that Ghislaine Maxwell says. I'm very democratic about it. Don't believe anything that she said. I think it was amusing, though, that she claimed that Prince Andrew's now ex-wife tried to put the moves on Epstein. I mean, it sort of sounds like Sarah. She's a bit desperate, a bit needy, loves a rich guy. I thought that Sarah was trying to put the moves on Jeffrey. If I'm being honest, I thought the whole thing was annoying and I was peed off. I'm sure she was. She was probably worried that she would be pushed onto the periphery and, she wouldn't have that very luxurious lifestyle. I find it hard to believe, though, that all those trips on the Lolita Express for Bill Clinton was just for a holiday. I'm quite amused by that. He just wanted to go on the Lolita Express and holiday on the island with Jeffrey, just because it was fun. He just felt like getting a good suntan. And like I said, also what she said about Donald Trump, what she said about Prince Andrew, what she said about Sarah Ferguson, all very convenient, I would say. That's just my opinion. And I got a bit of heat on X, but that's the truth. I just don't believe anything that she says. Okay, I'm going to go on to some more. We're going to go on to Your Say, which was after my rather raw and emotional live about Harry laying the wreath at the memorial. Many of you had things to say. Now I'm just sharing the top comments like I always do. I don't sort of edit. I just share the top comments. So this was from Kate Mander. I'm going to leave out the compliments to me at the start, but the main point she was making was Harry isn't the only one who's done time in service. I've spent 2 years in Peshawar with Afghan refugees while bombs went off. There are many of us around the world in different regions, whether military or relief and development workers who have offered their service. Charles needs to act or allow a regency to support him if his energy or health or willpower is lacking. It isn't just about Britain, but the Commonwealth citizens as well that he's answerable to, and he needs to stand up and give us an answer. I thought that was brilliant, and a lot of you thought it was brilliant too. There was over 1,000 thumbs up for that one. Donab, so glad you showed your emotions. Your action is how everyone feels about this stunt. That was voted up comment. What I must say and reiterate is I didn't plan it. It was alive. And it was very awkward for me because I was live and I struggled because it just came up. So it wasn't planned. It wasn't intentional. It wasn't a video that I edited and left in. It was alive. Isle of Shoals, this is the most powerful statement about the disgrace. Bless you. May your voice be heard around the world. Bless you. Well, thank you, and bless you back. I appreciate that kindness. That was really, really lovely. Horse Designs, it's just as angry as we were in the US from his visit to Pearl Harbor and the Los Angeles National Cemetery. It's all gone on far too long. Indeed it has. Indeed it has. Now, I wanted to bring up, just to finish off, I'm going to go now. Helen Mirren gets her own Murder, She Wrote for Netflix, and it's based on the Thursday Murder Club books. And the reason why I bring it up is I've got a new thing happening this week. It's kicking off. Now, those of you that love Gossip Before Bed, it's going to have a similar vibe. We're going to have a sip. We're going to have a beverage. I'm going to sit back in the armchair and I'm going to share a really great, juicy whodunit, a true story, a vintage whodunit, and I'm going to do a few of these Murder Before Bed. So if you like being a little bit scared but not too scared, come and join me this week. I'm planning for Tuesday night if all goes to plan. If not, it'll be Wednesday night. So have your notifications on. And also, just to finish, if you want to join me over on Substack, I've put up the link in the community 3 times, and I think YouTube keeps taking a bit of the link away. So it works if you get onto it straight away and then it somehow gets edited. I don't know what's going on. But if you download the Substack app, you can actually join me over at Substack. It sort of takes me back to my blogging days. I'm going to be doing a bit of writing there. And I am planning in the future to do some book-based things, possibly actually a book club with members. So if you want to join me over, it's completely free. If ever I charge in the future, it will not affect you if you join. Everything's free. I've got the payments turned off right now. And this is just what my sort of thing looks like over at Substack. If you go over to Substack and type in @TheVintageRead, I'll come up. All right. And then you can, it's perfectly safe to subscribe. They don't charge you or do anything nasty. It's safe. Like I said, I've got payments turned off. So you can't be accidentally charged if you want to come over and join me and sort of I've got a newsletter that I'm going to put out, and it's called Royally Real, where I discuss some issues in a bit more of a deeper, well-researched sort of manner. So thank you very much for joining me. I do appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon with a Murder Before Bed. Have a great rest of the day, everyone. See you. Bye, all my friends. Bye. See you.